Hi, it's Muzz iEvolv. Thank you very much for being here again this week. Before you get too excited, I'm not doing a channeling this week. Instead, I'm going to discuss something which I think is really interesting and it's valuable to know. I think it's something that's really important to know. And this is the result of some research that I've been doing. So let's go back to the beginning and I'll tell you how I got onto this train. Have you heard of brain entrainment? Brain entrainment. The proper terminology is neural entrainment. And it's this principle that your brain will synchronize to external stimuli. So if you're listening to music or you're being exposed to a flashing light, for example, of a particular frequency and it's consistent, what will happen is your brain waves will literally synchronize with the external stimuli. And you can actually use this phenomenon in your benefit. So you may have heard of binaural beats. Have you heard of this? Binaural beats. It's where you listen to music and you've got to use earphones and it puts one beat in one ear, a different beat in the other ear, and then when those combine together, it creates like a third frequency internally in your perception. And then your brain will synchronize with this rhythm, with this beat or frequency. And by using this principle, you can actually get your brain to harmonize with particular frequencies which are suitable for particular tasks. So if you wanted to do something like falling asleep or meditation or working something which requires focus or channeling, there are literal frequencies which your brain will go into when it is doing those activities most efficiently. And so you can use these external stimuli, this brainwave entrainment, to entrain your brain into those frequencies so that when you do the activities, you're in the optimal state to do it. I'm a big believer in brain entrainment and I do it literally every single day, 7 days a week. I do brain entrainment and I do it to help me focus when I'm working. I do it also when I'm doing my visualization and my affirmations. I do it at times to help me to fall asleep and I find it to be really effective. So what I've done recently is I bought the rights to like 192 hours of this particular music. Of brain entrainment music, and I'm putting together an offer, a package. And when I was doing the research for writing basically the information that you can read on the web page, you decide if that's something you wanted or not. The purpose of this video isn't to sell you this product. I'm just literally telling you how I got to where I am. I wanted to make this video. So from my personal experience, I was already a believer in this idea of brain entrainment because it has worked. It works for me. There's no doubt about it from my own subjective experience. But I started doing the research and I was looking for research papers, published articles in scientific journals which are about brain entrainment. And the evidence is astounding. There's no doubt that brain entrainment is really a remarkable phenomenon and it's more and more being used as a therapeutic tool because it just does everything. Literally, if your brain is responsible for the performance of a particular activity, you can become better at it instantly by entraining your brain. And the great thing about it is, all you need to do is when you're doing the activity you're going to do anyway, you just, at the same time, entrain your brain. So the easiest way to do it is to you put in your earphones and you listen to whether it's binaural beats or isochronic tones or pure sine wave or monaural beats. There's a bunch of different modalities. And then you're able to perform that particular task at a higher level. It's such an easy way to level up your performance. It's such an easy way to accelerate your personal growth. So that's why I do it every day and I have been doing it every day for over a year. And when I was reading this research, I was like going, wow, this is even more remarkable than I thought it was. There is so much evidence showing that it is incredible what it can do. if you entrain your brain, you are more proficient, more capable, just better at virtually everything that you would do in your life. It's really amazing. And I started to think, my very cynical, skeptical mind of the way that our world and our lives and everything is just being manipulated through the false narrative. And I started to think, for sure, if it's this powerful and this effective, for sure it's already being used against us. Our brainwaves are already being entrained through external stimuli for us to be self-destructive, depressed, pathetic, useless, hopeless, unsuccessful, uncooperative, unable to maintain relationships, to fail in virtually every single way that you can be a human being. I'm very suspicious. I don't really have the evidence, but I'm very suspicious that we are already being brain entrained into frequencies which are detrimental to us as human beings. And that would be coming through news media, entertainment media, social media, all ways where they can get you to listen and see. We're definitely being entrained into being a bunch of losers. I really believe this. So I thought, I did a little bit of research, and I thought, is there something to support this idea I have? And the evidence I found, I just did one little research, and then as soon as I saw it, I went, oh my goodness, I'm going to want to make a video about this. So I haven't gone deeper than what I'm about to tell you. So the research I did, I saw that when tuning music, we tune it from A, and that is 435 hertz or 440 hertz. So it becomes the reference point. Then all the other notes are tuned in relation to what you say is your reference point. And usually the reference point is A. I mean, I'm not a musician, so I may be a little bit off on my terminology, but roughly that's how it works. And for the longest time, it used to be 432 hertz. But in like the 1950s or 60s, that got changed to 440 hertz. And why? So for the longest time, it had always been, and there's even evidence that Greeks were tuning their instruments on the basis of 432 hertz. But then after all of this time, it got changed to 440 hertz. This is the conspiracy theory behind this. Rockefeller, the original Rockefeller, like the Big Daddy Rockefeller who really built that empire, he was a tyrant to the extreme, but he was also an absolute genius in his tyranny. So the current education system, which we all went through, which doesn't teach us how to manage our finances, doesn't teach us how to manage our taxes, doesn't teach us how to be entrepreneurial, doesn't teach us how to use the financial systems to make our money go further so we don't go broke and we can create a generational wealth. It doesn't teach us any of that stuff. That was the mastermind of this Rockefeller. Also, the modern medical system, which is all based on pharmaceuticals, allopathic medicine, all of the homeopathic and naturopathic, all of the medicine modalities and healing modalities that had been the way that was done all around the world for thousands of years are now all considered to be some form of quackery because of this Rockefeller guy. This Rockefeller guy literally changed the global mindset about healing because that's another industry he was invested in. And then he was also invested heavily in the Nazi war machine. He was providing them with financing, I think, but he was definitely providing them with weapons and things like this. So if the Nazis went to war or there was an extended war, he was going to benefit big time because they were purchasing so much from him. And the story goes that Joseph Goebbels, who was the propaganda minister of the Nazis, he met with Rockefeller and they were discussing ways that they could ensure there is going to be war, they're sure there's going to be conflict. And they had decided that if they were to change the tuning frequency of all music that was created around the world from that time, from 432 to 440, then this would put people in a mindset of aggression, of anxiety, of worry, of angst, and so they're more likely to take a war footing and more likely to start global conflict, which would be beneficial to both of them because they both wanted to have war. Because 440 is divisible by 2. This is what they shifted it to. Whereas 432 is divisible by 3. And Nikola Tesla said that the secrets of the universe can be reduced down to 3 numbers, 3, 6, and 9. That's not a direct quote, it's something like that. But he said 3, 6, 9. These are the most important numbers. And 432 hertz is divisible by 3, but 440 isn't. It's only divisible by 2. Also, when accomplished artists or musicians tune their instruments just by ear, they usually tune it into something approximating 432 hertz, not 440. So 432 is the natural frequency. So when I heard this, they want to make people more aggressive and stuff, I thought, is there any scientific evidence supporting this theory? So I did some more research, and I researched what are basically the metaphysical, biological effects of 432 hertz versus 440 hertz. And there was a study that was published in 2019 where somebody, because this is a big debate, 432 versus 440. A lot of people say 432, that's really the natural harmonic, and it was shifted from that because at 440 humanity is more cacophonic rather than symphonic, much more chaotic. And others say, no, that's just hocus pocus, conspiracy theory, rubbish. So I thought, is there a theory, is there research supporting it? And this study found that when people listened to 432, it lowered their systolic blood pressure, lowered their diastolic blood pressure, lowered their respiration, lowered their heartbeat quite substantially, and also they came away from the listening experience with a greater sense of well-being and a greater subjective score of how pleasurable it was listening to that music. But when they listened to the exact same music based on a 440 hertz tuning, they had higher systolic, higher diastolic, higher respiration, higher heartbeat rate, and came away feeling with a lower sense of well-being and a less pleasurable listening experience. There you go, there's the proof. There's the proof. So, now this brings me full circle back to how I think you can use this information. The first one is, if you're not using brain entrainment, I really think it's something you want to consider, something to add into your arsenal of personal growth modalities, because it's so simple, so easy, and it's scientifically proven to be so effective. And that's why I do it literally every day. Also, be wary of what you're watching, because absolutely, I totally believe this is true. This is my intuitive sense, but I think if we were to look into it, and probably if I was a researcher, there's somebody already who has done the research on this. But when you do things like watch the news, I would think almost certainly that the transmission is doing one or two things. One, it's using a sound frequency which is putting you into a hypnotic state. So it's entraining your brain into a brainwave pattern which is hypnotic, meaning that you're very suggestible. And also probably in the intro to the news section where they go and they're flashing the lights and everything, probably also that is deliberately putting you into a hypnotic state. And so when they tell you the news, you are very suggestible and you are being hypnotized, brainwashed, like literally. So be very suspicious, be very aware that this is probably what they're doing when you're tuning into the news. Also, when you're watching movies and they're putting subliminal messaging into the movies, again, most likely they're using brain entrainment through sound and through the visual stimuli to put you into a hypnotic state so that you are easily suggestible. And when you're on social media, they're probably also doing the same thing. And they're probably even nuanced it to the point that when they are showing you content which is meant to make you be enraged about a particular enemy, whether at the moment it's about being enraged at the Russians, or it's being enraged at the Muslims, or it's being enraged about some particular racial or whatever other group it is they want you to be enraged about and to perceive as your enemy so that we remain divided from each other. That they're probably at the same time entraining your brainwaves into a waveform which is associated with aggression and hatred. I think they're probably doing that because these people have been forwarding their tyranny for generations across millennia, and so they are literal, absolute world experts and masters at manipulation. And so I'm convinced they are utilizing this property of our minds, of our brains, to influence and manipulate us into having particular types of behavior. My concern is music which is created for young people. I was watching, my son said to me the other day, "Dad, look at this is like insane." And he showed me a video, and I don't know the name of this performer. Apparently this performer is very big time. And in the video, she's entirely black, and she's got horns, and she's got fangs, and she's like a devil spawn. And she's singing the song, and she looks like a devil spawn. And at the same time, that's flashing, the screen's flashing. And I'm convinced that the purpose of that particular music clip is to entrain the minds of young people into some type of affiliation or camaraderie or affection for the devil spawn concept, the satanic mantra. I really think so. I really think so. So, when you get out into the world, peeps, keep this information in mind. You are absolutely being brain entrained when you are consuming any type of media which is coming from the system, anything which is mainstream. You are absolutely being manipulated to have a particular frequency going on in your brain which makes you susceptible to whatever nasty objective they have for you. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that little snapshot into my conspiratorial mind, and maybe this is something which is useful to you. I'll just finish off by saying that this is not the place you see me here. This is not my final destination. We are still waiting to get this place prepared. Apparently it takes weeks, the place that we're going to move into, so I'm in another Airbnb, unfortunately, but this is quite a pleasant Airbnb, so it's not too bad here. So that's it. All right, well, I hope you found that interesting. I love you, and I will see you again soon. Bye.